So for everybody watching, it is myself, Daniel, who you always see on the podcast, and Holly Wolf, who's been in several videos. We will be taking questions later on for the podcast, but for now, we need to get through our final topic of discussion. So guys, Daniel and I had our worst Zelda theories video, which was a question sent in by a viewer, and it did so well. Nobody asked what our favorite Zelda theories were. Some of the worst ones was Link being dead in Majora's Mask, that theory. The theory that Wind Waker takes place, or Breath of the Wild takes place before Wind Waker, or Breath of the Wild takes place before Skyward Sword. Those are some of our worst. So this time we're going to be talking about some of our favorites. Starting with you this time, Holly. We went with Daniel last time. What are your favorite Zelda theories?
I watched a lot of videos about there being a fourth piece in the Triforce. I like that theory.
Oh yeah, there's the
Triforce.
Yeah,
right,
there's
is what it's called, right?
The Fierce Deity costume has the down-facing Triforce symbol.
Exactly, yeah, and that there is a fourth piece, and I think it went into like a lot of things within Majora's Mask also being like involved. Yeah.
And also the Hylian shield in Ocarina of Time. It was removed in later designs of the shield, but in Ocarina of Time it has that fourth piece upside down at the bottom of the shield. But in Twilight Princess and onwards it was taken out. I think, I don't know why, but so there is there at least is a little bit more to this theory. Yeah,
Princess Zelda in Wind Waker, her name Tetra.
Yes.
4 giants in Majora's Mask and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right.
I like that theory.
Okay, here's a question though. So we have the Triforce of Courage, Power, and Wisdom.
Yes.
What would the fourth be? What would that piece be? The Triforce of what?
Power, Wisdom, Courage. I don't know what would.
I don't know either. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like if they actually talked about it.
Wait, I will Google. Power, Wisdom.
Someone's
Courage,
if you Google it, there's gonna be darkness.
Power, Wisdom, Courage, and
darkness.
Nothing.
Nothing.
One says virtue.
Nihilism.
One says masculinity. But that would go.
That's exactly what it is.
That's power.
It's got to be the Triforce of nihilism.
Yeah. Well, if we did put it with Fierce Deity, then like what? The Triforce of fierceness. Like there's
fierceness.
So fierce. Courage, wisdom, Great Fairy, kindness. I don't know.
Maybe like peace.
Something. Like something. Yeah, more like.
Because I would say like courage and wisdom would go together more so than power and the rest of them. So like you got courage, because if you have power, you don't need courage because like the whole point of courage is you're afraid because you think that you can't overcome the obstacle. Yeah, but then you do it anyways. So I would say like something, whatever the opposite of power would be, like something to counteract that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
True.
Yeah. But see, I always saw the Triforce as sort of like this thing that it like sort of represents your, balance as a whole person,
Yeah.
I don't know. It would get pretty deep if we got into this. So we'll just move on. But
yeah, it's a pretty deep one. Full deep.
All right. What about you, Daniel? What is your favorite Zelda theory?
Well, I've talked about it a lot, but my favorite Zelda theory right now is it's kind of my own theory, or at least I'm actually not the one that came up with this theory, but I think that I made a damn good video about it back in the day.
Really quick,
which is the
Phantom Wolf in the chat said maybe courage, power, wisdom, and love.
Oh, love.
Yeah.
Love. I mean, yeah, because love has a lot. Like,
What's love got to do with the
It's got a lot of things involved with love, right? Like compassion and I guess peace as well. But like, I don't know. Yeah, love would kind of make sense. True.
I wonder if anyone in the chat has guessed what theory I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit earlier on the other discussion topic, but that's how I became friends with you, was because of your theory on what's called a dragon break, where the different timelines all converge together.
Yes, my dragon break theory. No, I actually love this theory. It's where the 3 timeline splits all merge together. Presumably, that merge would happen 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild. That's kind of the gist of the theory.
Oh, right,
so that's why all of these things that kind of contradict each other, like there is stuff that kind of points towards adult timeline, but stuff that also points towards child timeline, and stuff that points towards downfall timeline. I'm pretty sure developer-wise, like, it's all throwbacks and Easter eggs and stuff, but like as far as trying to make a canon timeline placement goes, it kind of lends itself to all spots in the timeline and things that contradict each other. So this idea of a dragon break is actually a time paradox that the term dragon break itself comes from the Elder Scrolls series, and the basis behind it is in Elder Scrolls it's so open-ended, those games, and there are games when they were making the second one, Daggerfall, there were like 12 different endings to the game or something like that. I think it was 8 different endings. So when they're making the third Elder Scrolls game, Morrowind, they're like, well, how do we choose like the canon ending for Daggerfall to make a sequel? Like, how do we account for all of this different stuff happening? So they had the idea of a dragon break in which a time paradox happened. No one is really sure what happened, but it seems like all of it happened, even though those things sort of contradict each other. So it's this weird time paradox that causes all of the 8 endings, I think, that happened to all occur and cause a really messed up history to happen. So I think the same thing, only on a smaller scale, because it's only 3 timelines, not 8, happened with Zelda, when basically because the Hero of Time in Ocarina of Time, where the timeline split occurs, there's so much time travel and stuff that when that split occurred, you know, it caused that time paradox. Yeah. And to support this theory, the Dragon Break 100% does happen in Majora's Mask. The ending of Majora's Mask is a Dragon Break, because for all 4 giants to have been able to show up means that Link would have to beat all 4 dungeons in a single 3-day cycle. And during the credits, it shows you all the side quests that you completed and the resolution for those. And for all of those endings to have occurred, you would have to do all those side quests in a single 3-day cycle. And contrary to what some people have told me, it is actually impossible to do everything in one 3-day cycle, because you would need to be at Romani's Ranch at the same time as being in Clocktown to stop one event from happening, and then you need to be able to buy the bomb bag. And you need to be able to complete the Anduin Cafe side quest twice somehow, right? So like there's too many things that happen at the same time. It's impossible. You can't. Yeah. But when you beat the game, all of that stuff happened. It's shown. It's in the credits. It's in the ending cutscene. The Happy Mask salesman, you made a lot of people happy. That's great. And so it did. That's the Dragon Break. It happened in Majora's Mask. So there's my evidence. Yeah.
And the bank,
it's not a.
The bank keeps your money when you go back in
time. The bank keeps your money.
Yeah.
Even though you keep time traveling. So yeah, I mean a lot of people, when I made that video, they're like, no, that's only in Elder Scrolls. That's not in Zelda. But in that video, I explain how it happens in Majora's Mask, and it also happens in Skyward Sword, so it's not a new concept for Zelda at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
My favorite.
I'm a wiener.
My favorite Zelda theory. Also, Kirby Aaron says, Daniel, will you be my friend?
Oh.
Yes, I will. Message me on Discord.
You were talking about the Elder Scrolls, and then someone said, whose name was the champion of Morrowind, says possible candidates for the 4th Triforce: Impa, Epona, Tingle, or Beetle. They all exist in multiple games in multiple timelines, so they are the only other characters that would appear in all of the different timelines. So that's Tingle gets his own Triforce piece confirmed.
Oh no, no, no!
Yes.
No.
So,
No!
yeah. And then the legendary swordsman says, "Did you guys hear about the Triforce?" That is what we're talking about. That's Holly's.
Yeah, Triforce. Yeah.
That's Holly's favorite Zelda theory. Mine, I don't know exact. I want to make a full video about it, but I really like the theory that we came up with, or I guess I came up with. We discussed it on one of the previous mailbags about the true purpose of the Forest Temple. Do you remember that one, Daniel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about that 2 weeks ago, or was it last week?
This was like 2-3 weeks ago.
2 weeks, 3, yeah. No, it was honestly, it was like you totally just thought it up on the spot, and it was like,
yeah,
here's a theory, and it was like flawless.
Yeah. Did you watch that video, Holly?
I don't think I did. No, I've been kind of catching up, but I don't think I've fully caught up. Sorry.
So it's basically, there's going to be 29 people listen to me go on about nonsense. So the theory was basically, because we were talking about the worst Zelda theories, and then while we were talking, I ended up thinking of my own theory, and it was Link gets brought to Kokiri Forest as a kid, and then like Ganondorf comes to Kokiri Forest later on, tries to get the spiritual stone of the forest, or the forest medallion, whatever it's called, from the Deku tree. He can't get it, so he poisons him, and then he leaves. And it sets in the events that happen in Ocarina of Time. And whenever you complete the first dungeon, the Deku tree, you kill Queen Goma, however it's pronounced, he gives you the spiritual stone. But it does, like, you don't get it from a chest or something inside of him. You get it from, like, it just falls from the air. Like, he just summons it up. So my theory was, because later on we are introduced to the Forest Temple.
Yeah.
But we aren't told exactly what the purpose of it is. It's just like this giant mansion that has a bunch of dungeons and stuff inside it in the middle of the forest. A forest that no one can get through, otherwise they'll turn into the Stalfos or whatever. So Ganondorf couldn't go to the Forest Temple to get the spiritual stone himself because he, at this time, he didn't possess the power of the Triforce or whatever to take over the world. So if he would have went into the Lost Woods for too long, then he would have turned into a Stalfos, and there would have been no point in completing the game because Ganondorf's basically dead already. So my thought was that the entire purpose of this big mansion was like a safeguard, not just for the Kokiri to possibly live in or the Koroks, but for the spiritual stone to be guarded and protected. Because then, if someone does manage to get through the Kokiri Forest, or not the Kokiri Forest, the Lost Woods, then they still have this giant mansion full of puzzles, dungeons, traps, and everything to get through in order to get it. And that's why Ganondorf couldn't just get it himself. Like, he poisoned, basically killed, tortured the Deku tree, but he couldn't physically... Like, even though he did that, he still couldn't physically get the spiritual stone from him. And that's why. And then the reason that Phantom Ganon is the boss of the Forest Temple later on is because when Ganondorf does get the power, or the power of the Triforce, when he freezes Zora's domain, dries out Lake Hylia, does all this stuff, one of the things that he does is he curses the forest. He puts his own enemies in the forest, the guardians or whatever they are, that are you have to run past.
Yeah, those big guys.
The moblins.
Oh, those are the moblins. Yeah.
Yeah. So the moblins are there in the forest, and like they have the giant bats or the spears, and they chase after you. But later on, they're replaced by the Deku Scrubs. So, the Deku Scrubs or whatever try to hit you as an adult. And
no, other way around. as a child.
Yeah, as a child, they're just
It's the Deku Scrubs when you're child Link, and then Ganondorf puts the Moblins in.
I had it mixed up. So sorry.
But you were on the right track though. Don't worry.
Yeah. So the point is, he puts like the more fierce enemies there.
Yeah.
You have like giant Deku Babas and Deku Scrubs all over Kakiri Forest, where there was previously no enemies at all, and then inside the Forest Temple, where he physically couldn't get to before, there's now like the evil demonic ghost version of himself. So my thought was, like, developer wise, they were probably just like, oh, this would be cool if we had like a Phantom Ganon fight here, like to prepare you for the real fight. But in story, I was thinking, what if, because that was the one place that Ganondorf couldn't get to, as kind of payback, he was like, well, I'll just put like the ghost of myself or whatever there to haunt the place, since I couldn't get there before. So that was my theory, that like basically his way of like, you wouldn't let me have it before, so now I'm going to haunt it. Yeah, basically. So that's cool. That was the theory that I came up with, and then like I came up with it on the spot whenever Daniel and I were talking. So that was I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I guess those are our 3 favorite Zelda theories. Holly had the Triforce, Daniel had the Dragon Break timeline convergence, and mine was the Forest Temple, which is the end of all 3 of our discussions or our topics. So we finally get to our mailbag and some awesome news. The videos on this channel are funded by supporters on Patreon like you. If you're a fan of this channel and would like to join on videos, receive shoutouts, watch videos early, have your questions answered, or have your topic discussed on our podcast, please consider supporting on Patreon for these and many other rewards for just $1. Shoutouts for this video includes Link Use the Triforce, Rusty Caulfield, Lovable Christy, Give Time 15, Shadow to Us, Robbie Morgan, and Lunarium. I want to thank all of you for everything you have done to help support this channel.